The government of Ghana is racing against time to get the International Monetary Fund (IMF) bailout sealed by the end of March 2023. While IMF and government officials have on many occasions attributed Ghana's economic crisis to the impact of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war, former board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Prof Adei, says it is largely as a result of the excessive borrowing. He's thus called on government to accept responsibility and work to change the fortunes of the country.
Reality is that I think the biggest mistake they made is that they borrowed beyond our capacity to service it. And whether you are a country or an individual, if you borrow beyond your capacity, you'll be in trouble. Of course, COVID came in and Ukraine, but the reason why things got worse was because of this underlying mistake that they made, and they must admit it. Of course, if not, they wouldn't be going to the IMF. And I think that as to the way forward, once you are an individual, you get broke and your debtors come after you, it's either insolvency or liquidation. When it comes to the government, it's renegotiating with your debtors. And the debtors happen to be Ghanaians owing about almost half of it in terms of treasury bills and bonds, and the foreigners. And he's saying that I can't pay. Let us discuss it. And that is what is happening. And I think that the debt restructuring will go through, but it means that the next couple of years things are not going to be easy for everyone. And we are hoping that we would, for me, whether we will learn and not repeat it again. And that will be me and you being watchdogs, and making sure that they don't go on another borrowing spree. And also, the leakage should be reduced, because government after government, the level of corruption and wastage has been too high. So we don't get value for money. And it has been true for as much as I know.
Professor Adei said this when he addressed journalists on the sidelines of the Signature Market pre-launch campaign at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, where he blamed journalists and intellectuals of not doing enough to make government officials accountable.
Every time they borrowed, you heard it on the news approved by the parliament, and you said nothing. And now that you say we can't pay and pay some more, you are crying. So the first thing is that all of us, and especially those of you who have the privilege of the media, should stop the sensationalism and then be analytical and critical. And also, let me get you, don't always get people who are NDC and MPP on the television, the radio, they say that sells. Bring people who will be able to educate the Ghanaians and tell them what to do. There's going to be election, all promises. Not even a question will be asked. How are you going to fund your promises? No. When you go and they give you food and other things, you are finished. And these are the type of things that we should all be looking at. And I must say that my fellow intellectuals have been quite disappointing, because there hasn't been sufficient intellectual discussion. Because being a university, being paid by the government, and you are free, a university lecturer will not be arrested for speaking their mind. They should use their forum and their seminars to really think proactively about where Ghana should go, so that we don't get to this situation again.
The first Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Usu, in an earlier interview with Citi News, says the current economic situation is mainly because the country has not been able to pay the interest on its loans.
The current economic situation, let's discuss it. What is the current economic situation? The real challenge...
The fact that we're at IMF and all that.
We're at IMF because we can't afford to pay our interest, period, nothing more. The revenue we generate as a country versus our monthly returns. If you pay all the interest, the rest of the money left cannot pay workers. If you pay workers, what is left cannot pay interest. So government keeps borrowing. And so we say that is not sustainable. But because of that, our what we call reserves have dwindled. And that's why our currency is good.
As Ghana is going to the IMF, the country is being urged to critically look at how it manages its finances, so that we don't get into a similar situation in the near future. For Citi News, I'm Edward Oponmafu, Kumasi.